Hello everybody, I'm Rowan6 with Rowan6 Entertainment, and welcome to a new series, a audiobook series of my fanfiction of the Doomslayers of MHA. The background art for this fanfiction is created by me. If you're interested in me doing art commissions for you, the link to my business Discord is down below. There's also a link to my community Discord, as well as the fanfiction link. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Chapter 2. Ryuko was getting her wounds patched up by the paramedic on site as she watched her friend gather up the bodies of those creatures with that man that she was with. The portal that brought these creatures here was mostly closed at this point but wasn't fully closed. The portal was just big enough to probably fit a pencil through. But what had her worried was the distressed state of her friend and that man. Thanking the medic who dressed her wounds, she decided to head over to the two and to see what was up. As she approached, she managed to overhear their conversation, and what she heard, she did not like. "Vega, are you sure? I'm pretty sure we killed every demon here," Rumi said as she paced back and forth anxiously. "I am positive, Miss Slayer. The portal remains open due to a demonic presence on this side," a synthesized voice of a male said, which Ryuko guessed belonged to this Vega person. "Can you locate it, Vega?" the large man said as he growled out in annoyance. "Yes, the location of the demonic entity that is holding the portal open is located somewhere in Musutafu General Hospital. Putting it up on your HUD now," Vega said, but before they could run off, Ryuko got in front of them. "I don't think you two are going anywhere without explaining what the fuck is happening," Ryuko said, crossing her arms as she stood in front of them. "Ryuko, we do not have time to explain now, so get out of our way," Rumi said quickly as she pushed past her friend. But Ryuko was steadfast as she stepped right back in front of her, but this time she was less composed. "Rumi Usagiyama, you better tell me what the fuck is happening right now before I beat it right out of you," Ryuko said as she snarled out in fury, which had the effect of stopping Rumi in her tracks. It was then that Rumi really took a good look at her, seeing the heavy bags under her eyes as well as the fear and confusion in them. Rumi guessed that she hadn't slept for the whole week that she was gone, if she was this quick to anger. She must have been extremely worried about her. So she decided to play ball for the moment. Because she knew that she did not have time to deal with an angry Ryuko. So after letting out a long sigh, she spoke up. "Okay, basically those things that came through the portals are literal demons, straight from hell types of demons. Now, as long as that portal remains open, the higher the chance of the fucking apocalypse happening. Now, if you want more information, you will have to wait until that portal closes, and that's only going to happen if we take out the last of the demons," Rumi said quickly as she attempted to push past her friend again, but like before, she stepped in front of her again. But this time, Rumi let out a snarl of anger that shocked Ryuko, forcing her to step back a bit. The snarl that came out of her mouth was primal, nearly monstrous, and it was laced with so much fury that it scared Ryuko on an instinctual level. Ryuko had never seen her friend like this. What happened to her to make her this way? Shaking her head from these thoughts for the moment, she quickly got over her shock, stood up straight again, and spoke. "Demons, Rumi, are you serious? Okay, I might be sleep deprived at the moment, but even I can tell what you are saying is nothing but insanity," Ryuko says, looking at her friend incredulously. "Fine, put my helmet on, then take a peek through the hole, and tell me if what's on the other side is insanity or not." Rumi said, pushing the helmet onto Ryako's head and dragging her towards the portal. It was at this point that Ryako realized that her friend was somehow physically stronger than her now, and by a large margin, which was an impressive feat. But that thought was quickly dragged out when Rumi physically moved her in front of the portal. With a gesture from her friend, she peeked through it, and what she saw would probably haunt her dreams for the rest of her life. Because on the other side was a literal hellscape. There was a literal ocean of lava and ancient and worn-down demonic-looking structures that reached the red thundering skies above. But what frightened her the most was the horde of demons waiting on the other side for the portal to open again. Stepping back from the portal, she ripped the helmet off and tossed it to Rumi as she backed away from the portal as quickly as possible. "What the fuck was that?" Ryako asked, now terrified. "That, my friend, is hell, and if we don't kill the rest of the demons here, that portal is going to open up again, and more of those fuckers are going to come out," Rumi said as she put on her helmet again and started to walk off. Snapping out of it, Ryako ran after her. But this time it wasn't to stop her but to help her instead, which Rumi appreciated. Transforming into her dragon form, Ryako gave them a lift to the hospital. Flying through the air as fast as possible, Ryako could not help but note that the two were not affected by her speed in the slightest. Just another thing that she was definitely going to bring up with her friend after this was all over. Landing at the hospital's entrance, they quickly realized that it was way too quiet. Pulling weapons out of nowhere, which shocked Ryako, her friend, and her companion entered the hospital, where she quickly followed behind. But she wished that she didn't, because the walls were practically covered in blood and entrails, as well as pentagrams and demonic symbols that looked like they were painted in blood. But it was as they pressed on that she quickly realized something that she vocalized. "Where are all the bodies?" Ryako asked because as she looked around, there were no bodies, just a lot of blood and the occasional organ. It is most likely because the possessed have taken them. This is a common tactic for the possessed to take the dead. They do this so they can use the corpses to create a gore nest, which acts as a birthing ground for new demons, as well as an anchor point for hell, Vega said, answering Ryako. But before she could ask what a possessed was, the trio stopped, and at the end of the hallway stood a man wearing what appeared to be a tattered hero costume with his back turned to them. Thinking that another hero was investigating the hospital as well, she attempted to call out to the man. But she was quickly stopped by Rumi, who stopped her and aimed her gun at him. Wondering why she would do such a thing, she attempted to get a closer look at the man. But when she did, the man turned around, and she saw that the man was no longer a man but a twisted form of flesh-given form. Its skin is almost mummified and brown in color, and the skin seems to be fused with parts of its hero costume and support gear, and its movement is erratic and slow. Its eye sockets have disappeared, and instead, it has a single large socket on its forehead, which could have been a mutation, but given the rest of the appearance of the creature, she doubted it. Wasting no time, Rumi fired her weapon and blew its head off. Looking back at her friend, who looked to be a little shaken, Rumi could not help but let out a long sigh before slapping her. When Rumi was satisfied that her friend had gotten a hold of herself again, she spoke. "Look, Ryako, I understand that this is a little much, I really do. So you are welcome to go back outside and wait. But if you're coming with us, just know what you just saw was only the tip of the iceberg," Rumi said, causing Ryuko to look seriously at her. Rumi, thanks for your concern, but you don't need to baby me. Especially since I am a hero, and if I cannot get past my fears and protect the people who are in danger, I do not deserve that title. Ryuko said with renewed determination. Giving her a nod of approval, she handed her a plasma pistol that, again, she somehow pulled out of nowhere. Another thing that she will need to ask about later, and before she could ask why she needed a gun. Rumi decided to answer her unspoken question. These fuckers like to come in hordes, and I know you can partially transform. But it's best to keep your distance from these guys as much as possible since they can gang up on you pretty quickly. Also, aim for the head, it's the fastest way to kill them. Demons can keep coming at you even if the majority of their body is destroyed. That's why headshots are the best way to take them out, especially the possessed. Rumi said, and when Ryuko took the gun from her hands, they started moving down the hallways of the hospital. It was when they turned a corner that they saw another possessed. But this one used to be female, and as it noticed them, it proceeded to breathe a large cone of fire out of its mouth that enveloped the hallway that they were in. As the others ducked back behind the corner to get into cover, the Doomslayer just tanked the blow as he shot the possessed in the head, killing it. Approaching the body, Ryuko could not help but let out a gasp of shock and horror. Rumi let out a long sigh as she looked at her friend before speaking. Let me guess, you knew her. Rumi said, placing a hand on Ryuko's shoulder. Yeah, she was one of the new heroes I hired in my agency. She's Mabara Yururi, her hero name was Spitfire. What the fuck happened to her? Ryuko said, looking at her friend. But it wasn't Rumi who spoke up instead, it was Vega's voice that reached her ears. Identity confirmed, Mabara Yururi, hero name Spitfire, quirk, fire breathing, description, fire breathing allows the user to breathe fire up to 10 feet. The flames are capable of reaching up to 250 degrees, and if pushed, can reach up to 350 degrees. But doing so risks the user burning their throat and mouth. It seems that the possessed retain the capability of using their quirks even after the mutation process. I recommend you be wary, Slayers, it seems that their quirks have been supercharged. As for your question, Miss Ryukyu, they were affected by what is called a Lazarus wave event, a phenomenon first discovered by Dr. Olivia Pierce during her Lazarus project. While most victims exposed to Argent biowaves will expire without further effect, some subjects will absorb traces of Argent energy and enter a state of posthumous vigor. Despite necrosis on the internal organs, with the exception of the brain, the victim continues to animate and exhibit a low order of sentience for weeks or even months after clinical death. If I am correct, after scanning the 2 corpses of the possessed that we have slain, they were exposed to a low-yield Lazarus wave that lasted for a minute. If my guess is correct, it was emitted from the portal the second that it was opened. Luckily for you though, your cell walls seem to have a high resistance to this phenomenon. But I still recommend caution since you are not immune to the phenomenon, just resistant to it. In the future, if another portal opens, allow the Slayers to handle the initial wave before moving in. Vega said, which caused Ryuko's head to spin a bit from the information dump. But she was quickly snapped out of it by the sounds of a pencil writing on paper. Looking over to the giant of a man, she could see that he was writing something in a very old leather-bound book marked Demonology Analysis Volume 732. As he mumbled to himself as he wrote into his notebook, Ryuko could not help but wonder how long he had been analyzing these things for him to get up to that many volumes. But her thoughts were cut off by the chuckle of her dear friend Rumi, whom she could tell even through her helmet was looking at him fondly. "Honey, you can analyze the demons later, we've got a job to do, remember?" Rumi said as she gave him a love tap on his shoulder. Which, if she hit Ryuko with that much force, would probably break hers. This caused him to stop immediately, and then he rubbed his head sheepishly. He gave her a quick apology before they moved on down the corridor of the hospital. As they cleared the various rooms, they ran into a few more possessed, which they were able to eliminate. After eliminating the 8th one, they finally made it to the cafeteria, where 12 of them were kneeling down near a large pile of corpses as they silently chanted. It was then, right before their eyes, that the corpses melted and formed a large fleshy construct. But before it could fully form, Rumi and the Doom Slayer charged forward, crushing through the possessed before smashing through the fleshy construct and destroying it. The construct exploded into blood and gore, and the Doom Slayer and his partner quickly annihilated the rest of the possessed. Ryuko was quick to help out, firing her plasma pistol. She managed to take out 4 of them in quick succession. 6 of them were getting pretty close to her, but like Rumi had instructed, she kept her distance as much as possible. Approaching the entrance that they came through, she was forced to dodge to the side as a possessed fired a beam of light out of its single eye hole that barely missed her. Getting to her feet, she realized 12 more of the possessed entered the room through the doorway, and even more poured through another entrance. But it seemed that Rumi and the Doom Slayer were taking care of the ones that were pouring through the other entrance quite easily on their own. Focusing back on the fight, she was quickly forced to dodge another attack from a possessed. It seemed to be capable of breathing out some type of corrosive gas, if the melted floor and the furniture were anything to go by. Leveling the plasma pistol, she took aim and shot at the possessed, blowing its arm off. Another shot blew its leg off. It seemed the creature was unfazed about its missing limbs as it crawled towards her. Taking aim, she fired another shot that blew its head off, which seemed to finally put it down. But her fight wasn't over with the single possessed down. Because she was forced to dodge again from the possessed, who fired the beam of light at her earlier. Looking at the possessed that just fired at her, she recognized the hero uniform. It was one of her interns from Shikatsu. She was only a first-year intern, a 14-year-old girl who was full of life, and now she was nothing but a mutated husk, being used as a puppet. As the creature powered up another attack, she leveled her gun at it and hesitated. And that hesitation would have killed her if it wasn't for Rumi caving in its skull with a single kick. After letting out a small tear for the poor girl, she prepared herself to finish off the rest of the possessed. It only took a couple more minutes to finish off the rest of them. Rumi, seeing her friend shaking, put a comforting hand on her shoulders. It seemed to do the trick since Ryuko got a hold of herself pretty quickly. Once Rumi was sure that Ryuko wouldn't break down, she let go of her shoulder before speaking up. "Okay, Vega, is there any left?" Rumi asked, and Vega quickly responded. "Negative, there is no longer a demonic presence on this planet, and the portal is closed. But unfortunately, the Gore nest, even though it was incomplete, was still able to get a partial connection to Hell. The chances of Hell creating another portal are 87%, and this time it will be more stable than the last 2 attempts," Vega said, causing the 2 slayers to groan in frustration. but before either of the two could ask any questions, Ryuko asked one of her own. Wait, what do you mean their portals were unstable? Ryuko asked worriedly. If it wasn't for the ache of her ribs and the wounds that she received earlier, she would have started to think that this was just a very bad and fucked up dream, and she had just fallen asleep on her desk. The portals they used previously were unstable due to the fact that they were attempting to enter a new dimension that is somehow protected. I do not know why this dimension is very difficult for the demons to reach. Because normally, they would just open portals all across your planet and send their forces through. But your planet is lucky, since at the moment they can only open a portal for a few seconds and have to rely on demons on the other end to anchor it to your dimension. Because of this, they can only open a portal in one specific location as well, and it is unstable. In fact, 80% of the forces that they sent through had not made it. Vega said, shocking Ryuko. If that was only 20% of those forces, she did not want to see what was 100%. How stable are we talking about here, and how long until they open another portal? The Doomslayer asked in a gruff and rough voice. If my calculations are correct, of the forces they send through next, 30% of them will make it. But it'll take around a month for them to make the needed calculations and adjustments. Vega said. Well, fuck. Everybody thought simultaneously.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!